Welcome to this edition of MVCC's Hawk Talk podcast. My guest today is David Ayoub from the class of 1983.
Hawk Talk with President VanWagoner.
Well, here today with David Ayoub, the class of 83. Thrilled to have you here on the Hawk Talk podcast, and excited, look forward to the conversation. So let's just get to it. And if you don't mind, just share a little bit about your background, kind of born and raised, and how you came to MVCC in the first place.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you having me today. Born and raised in Utica, right down the street, Seymour Ave, and went to Proctor High School. I'm the fifth of five kids, great mom and dad. And after high school, like a lot of kids in my class, and I still see, I just wasn't really ready to decide where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do the rest of my life. So parents said, well, your brothers and sisters went to MVCC, why don't you try it? So I said, okay. And didn't really know what I was going to major in, but a couple of them were accountants. So I said, no, I'm a pretty good math student. I like numbers. I'm going to get into the accounting program. And before I knew it, 2 years had gone by, and it was great. And I had my associate's degree and moved on from there.
Very good. And you, in class of 83, so you were here right about the time that MVCC moved from the quarter system to the semester system.
Yes, it was the trimester system, which I transferred into RIT.
Great.
And went there for 2 years to get my bachelor's degree. And they were on the trimester system. They stayed on it. Okay. And so everything worked out great. They took all of my credits, which, people say, wow, they might not take all your credits, but they took everything. There was one little glitch that I didn't find out until later on. When I was, after getting my bachelor's degree, I decided to sit for the CPA exam. And I turned in all my paperwork and my classwork and everything. And it was not long before I was ready to go in to take the exam. I mean, maybe a couple of weeks. I got a call and said, you're short X number of hours. I go, how could that be? And they went through everything, and I was short, I don't know, maybe it was an hour or 2 hours of a business class. And luckily, one break when I was home from RIT, I took a class at Utica College. It was a business law class, and they didn't have that one. So I sent them all the paperwork, and thank God it was the right class, the right amount of hours, and they allowed me to sit for the exam. Yeah, wow. So that was a little bit of a challenge there.
Yeah. So coming to MVCC right from Proctor High School.
Yes.
How did you find MVCC? Was it what your brothers and sisters had shared with you in terms of your expectations, or?
Well, they didn't really share too much. I did have a bunch of friends that came here, and it was, I wasn't sure what to expect other than I assumed it was going to be hard. It was college, and it was. I had to study, but living at home, a lot of things you don't have to do if you're living on your own. My mom was great. She took care of everything around the house and didn't take up my time. So I studied. I had a job, had a car, and was kind of getting on that track. So,
and did you get involved in many clubs or organizations, extracurriculars?
A little bit. I mean, I bowled and golfed.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I had the winter season and the spring season covered, and I can't remember if we did very well or not, but it was fun.
You played on the teams here?
I think I the golf team for sure. I'm not sure about bowling. I can't
could have been a club at the time.
Could have been a club.
Yeah. Oh, very good.
It was fun.
Yeah, that's one of the nice pieces about a community college. You might come here for the academics and find I didn't realize I could extend my athletic career a little bit.
And we would always, there was pickup games in the gym and stuff like that. So we were, using the athletic facilities all the time. It was, there was quite a few people I knew, not just that came here that I met, and obviously we're all the same age and at a community college. And so we shared a lot of the same things that. You
mentioned working while you were going to class. That and or other challenges that you faced while you were
Well, not really. Not while I was not in school, because like I said, I worked. I worked a couple of nights, probably 3, maybe sometimes 4 nights a week at the local bowling alley, just cleaning up. And but living at home, I didn't have to go shopping. I didn't really have to clean up a lot of things. It was.
Some of the benefits of staying
great.
close.
Definitely a benefit of staying close, as I learned my next 2 years in Rochester. Being
So
being
after
on my own.
you graduated MVCC, you said you transferred to RIT.
Yes.
And on your own there and majored
In accounting.
in accounting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But while I was here, one of the things here was that when I saw, I saw some of the previous information about what was going on here, it made me think about my professors, because I thought the 3 accounting professors I had were great. And while I'm not good with names, I do remember them. Wow. And they were all a bit different. It was Mr. Scotty, Mr. Schneider, and Mr. Burke. And they were excellent teachers. I don't know I think some of them, if not all 3 of them, had for-profit experience. They were out in the workforce, and they decided to teach afterwards. But they were very practical. It wasn't all just turn to page 62 and let's start going through the textbook. So I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the stories and how they related to us. It seemed like made it easier to learn. I thought, anyways.
Yeah. I look back on my experience as a student at Mott Community College in Michigan, and I always say the community college faculty just know how to bring the content to life.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that. And I can't remember, honestly, any of the other professors, but I've always remembered those 2.
Yeah. Well, It sounds like they definitely made an impact on you as you go off
They
to
did.
RIT, major in accounning, and then what did you do after you graduated RIT?
Well, when I went to RIT, I thought, well, it's a bigger school, and year 3 and 4. But my grades were just as good at RIT, if not better, and I attributed that to what I learned here. I mean, it was those guys. While they would relate the material, and they were good people to deal with, and yelling or anything like that. They were stern when it came to the learning part of it. And that definitely helped me in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I've heard faculty here talk about maintaining high standards and then giving the supports to every student, whatever they need to try to achieve those things.
I 100% agree with that, because, sometimes some concepts you just don't get right away, and it takes time, it's got to sink in. So that was a real benefit for me. Yeah.
Yeah. So then when you graduated RIT, you sat for the CPA exam?
I sat for the CPA exam. I kind of took it on because I did a little research on it, because it was a very hard exam, still is. But it was multiple choice, and it was essays, and you had to have 75 or better to pass. And there were 4 parts in it. And to me, I kind of just took it on as a test. And instead of trying to take all of them at once, I kind of divided it up and divided and conquered. So I was able to conquer it, each part as I took it. So I didn't have to retake anything. And one of the nice things about RIT was they had a co-op program. So I got a chance to work in public accounting in a small office in Rochester to get a flavor for, what's this industry like? And that was a great experience. In fact, I still talk with one of the people that I worked with in that office, about 3-4 years older than me. Great guy. So that was invaluable, because once I was done with that, I'm like, well, I'm going to stay in public accounting. I like this. So I passed the exam. Worked the firm. Unfortunately, I couldn't go back to it after graduation because they divided up. And I went to work for one of the principals for a couple of years, and then I was at Price Waterhouse for about 5 years. That's where I met my wife. And after that, we moved to Syracuse, and been there ever since, about 30 years now.
Great. And then moving to Syracuse, and then the position. What has the work experience been for you in the Syracuse area? Well,
staying in public accounting, went to a firm that, like big firms, had audit departments and tax departments. Smaller firms, you kind of did everything. Well, I found a smaller firm. It was called Pasquale and Bowers at the time, and they were only 15, 16 people. And they said, hey, we want to start a tax. We want to be like the big guys. We're going to start. So I thought, this is a great opportunity. And I joined in with them in 1992, and I'm still with them. We're called Bowers and Company now. Been a partner with them for about 20 years. We've changed our name slightly. It's not Pasquale and Bowers, it's Bowers and Company. We've got a couple different offices. We're about 100 person.
Fantastic.
And I run our tax department. So it's it's been a great run actually. And it's just, this is why I like being here. This is where it started really.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, looking back on your time at MVCC, is there a particular memory that might come to mind that lasts all these years later that you want to share?
Well, maybe it's more. I don't have any specific memories of events or anything like that. But one of the challenges I had here was parking. Having a car, having working. I might be a little late for class now and then, and a lot of the classes were down in the athletic facility down there. So I'd pull up and I'd run into class. Well, I come out and I had a ticket. So I had a challenge with the parking here at MVCC.
Not just a ticket.
I got a few. I got a few. But other than that, it was really enjoyable. I don't think I would have done it any differently if I had to do it over again, just because there weren't any problems. Learned a lot. And kind of set me on the good path. Yeah.
Great. Well, last question I have for you is just to kind of looking back on it all these years later. What does MVCC mean to you?
Well, to me, it's like I said, it's where I started. I encourage anybody I talk to who has kids. When we talk about college, or my kids are out of school now, out of college. I tell them, you got to look at the 2-year schools. Tell them about my experience here and, how I was able to do and what I was able to do after that. And so I'm a big proponent of the community colleges. My kids, I have 3, all went to state schools. And they're all graduated. I don't want to call it on time, but pretty much on time. And they've got excellent jobs now. They like their careers. And, so it works. It really does. Yeah.
Great. Well, David, thank you so much for joining me on MVCC's Hawk Talk podcast. I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you having me, and I think I'll make sure I stay in touch a little more than I've done over the last 40 years.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hawk Talk with President VanWagoner.